Hey, there he is, the man weathering the storm. Making you a speaker. Right on time.
What up?
Hey, how are
Hey,
you
Corey,
holding
how
up,
are
my
you?
friend?
Oh, just tired, man. I've been hanging boards and stuff, and doing some improvised repairs and stuff. Getting
Yeah.
ready for round two of the typhoon to hit. It should be inbound sometime this morning, uh, or early Friday morning, probably like midnight or so.
Wow. Damn,
Yeah,
boy. Well, hold strong, my friend. Hold strong because, there will be light at the end of the storm.
that's
You
it.
know?
That's it. No pun intended, right? So,
Yeah.
sure, man. Got to keep it grinding. So. How's everything on your end, man? You had some great news yesterday, man, and the day before it was looking good for Mask, bro. Couldn't couldn't wish it on a better guy and a better project, that's for sure.
Oh, thanks, man. No, I try not to pay attention to the charts too much, but what's funny is all the activity that happened on the markets. It must be front-running news or something because we literally didn't release any major stuff, although we've been talking like here and there in our community chats and stuff about
Sure.
different things that are coming close to launch. And I guess some people are really taking attention to that and saying, "Hey, I'm not waiting. I'm going to, you know, make a conviction move." So that's what we're seeing.
For sure, absolutely, man. It's about time though. Like like I said, I couldn't wish it upon anyone better. You guys are doing good work, and I mean, beyond that, it's just recompense from the community and people at large that they're recognizing more than just a chart or anything else. It's beyond that. It's Mask as itself and what it's doing.
That's right, man. Couldn't have said it better. And I think we've got some action coming from 2049. Is this man there
What's
on the
going
ground?
on? I'm here, dude. What's going on, guys?
Nice. You getting some
Yes,
sleep? You attending these all-night parties I hear about?
I'll sleep when I'm dead. It's okay.
I say that too. We're still alive, so we're doing something right.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, no, I'm checking out as much stuff as I possibly can here because I gotta get prepped for the mask party. It's gonna be like a masquerade party. I'm thinking maybe next year we'll put that together.
Hey, I have been talking about that actually, even if it's small, intimate group where we do like a builders retreat in New
for sure.
Zealand. I can't say I've heard of any crypto Web3 events really popping down here in New Zealand, maybe in Australia, so I don't know why we're neglected, but you know what? That means we have a quiet, calm, fun place to recharge when we do it.
However, there hasn't been one in 3 years. There was one 3 years ago. I didn't go to it, but it was for like Sphinx token back
Oh,
in the day.
really? Where did they do
Yeah.
that? Was that in Christchurch or?
Yeah. No, it was in Auckland. Yeah, it was in Auckland, I think. Put it on, but it was for Sphinx token, and I didn't end up going out, or I don't even know if it ended up materializing that much, but a few people I think went, but I think for Mask, the retreat would be amazing. So
Yeah. And I
for
think
sure.
it'd be cool to have it like invite only, like, because, it'd be nice to make it exclusive with lots of builders and people, people that are like the KELs. I'd want that to be the core if we ever did such a thing.
Yeah, we're gonna have to have some SRT3 there as well. Did you see the pictures I DM'd you, Kauri?
Oh, I better check.
Yeah,
Just
check them
now.
out. Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
Action. Did you see Rob Woods fight?
Rob Woods, come on,
Yeah.
Rob
Yeah.
Woods wasn't fighting.
No, I mean, did he fight though? Or did he try to fight? Was he in the card for the 18th?
No, Rob was not in the cards for the 18th, unfortunately.
What
Well,
was
what are
on?
these pictures? Are you on the roof, Larry?
Yeah, that's me on the roof. Yeah, the harness.
Wow.
Still hanging boards for the. We have quite a few elderly people that live in my condo complex, so I've been hanging boards for them in preparation for tomorrow's typhoon.
Oh man, yeah, you must be tired, bro.
Pretty
Jeez,
rough.
and not for the faint of heart, bro. You are like high up there. You're at the top. It's like you're abseiling off of a bloody skyscraper right there. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
it has to be done. We can't wait for utility or repair crews to do anything. If we do that, we'd be waiting forever without power too for the elevators. And a lot of them have CPAP and like breathing machines, so we need to make sure that we were routing power. So that's why I had those guys up there with a cable. We're just routing. We have to improvise kind of to
Yeah,
extend power yet and make sure that the elevators are good. We only have one elevator going right now. We should have a second one going. Making sure that pets can get down because they don't have the ability to get up and down very easily. So animals can use a bathroom and have some sanity. But other
yeah,
than it's been a kind of a struggle a little bit, but we'll get through it, man. It's just once every 3 years or something that this happens like this. So
yeah. Well, more power to you, man. Bless you for doing all those, nice things for your neighbors. Love thy neighbor, man. That's what makes the world a kinder place.
well, it had to be done. Just if you're able-bodied enough to do it, you should do it, right? So, and
Yeah.
there's 20 of us, but I'm trying. I'm the only one that has some rappelling and some scaling experience. Like we have a couple window cleaner guys that have volunteered to come up, but they're using the cart and the trolley, but to actually board the windows on some of the angles, the scaling trolley can't get on the side of the building. So having some fun in the wind.
I was gonna say, yeah, that was a thrill in itself, right? Doing doing that type of
Yeah,
stuff.
it's this is a great distraction. I'm happy that we don't have any wind noise right now for a change. And
Yeah.
thing though is our basements are flooded. Our parking basements are flooded. So I got my bike and my car, and that's all bad. But
Dang.
we'll figure that out when it comes.
Hopefully that subsides quickly, or at least gives a break before the
Well,
next torrential rain comes in.
it's still pretty bloody flooded, but we're just doing our best. Man, I was supposed to be at Token 2049, but of course didn't expect this to happen. I was even trying to scramble out to get out, but had greater responsibilities to my community and to my friends and family and stuff. So
Oh yeah, for
yeah.
sure. Well, we're living through action, right? Tell us what's good, action.
Yeah.
Dude, last night was a vibe. Actually Larry to see everybody from Hash, man. I got them into Karate Combat. That was a blast, dude. That was a really good time. Yeah, I mean it's just been awesome here, dude. Like it's one of those things. Like it's so many people. I've never seen so many people at a crypto event, and now we have F1. Like the roads are getting shut down for F1, so it's a zoo. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just a zoo here, but it's still awesome. It's still really great. Like I can't
Uh,
complain about a thing.
so I'm asking MetaTrust if they have a couple passes for F1 for the grid access pass for you and one other guest. That's all I could try to get.
This is why we love you, Larry.
Nice.
I mean, it's supposed to be for me and you, man. To be honest, but
Yeah.
Oh,
make it, bro.
that's a bummer, dude.
That's
Yeah. So I'm probably gonna end up in one of the drivers' parties right now because they want to advertise it at Karate Combat. And we're like, all right, dude, we'll make sure that happens. So yeah, so I got the drivers' party, but yeah, going to the actual event that would be amazing.
Action. Can you give me some clarity on what Rob Woods is talking about? He's training for a fight, went to Singapore, and was supposed to be fighting, but it didn't happen, or he wasn't on the card, or what?
Wait, Rob, you're thinking it's not like a Karate Combat. It's gonna be CDN. It's gonna be the other league.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we won't give him any time here.
CFN. CFN. Yeah, yeah.
I didn't know.
Oh
I had
man.
confusion because people told me he's fighting at Karate Combat. I was saying, I don't think so, man. I think so. People DM me like, did Rob win his fight there? I was like, I don't know anything about Rob being over there, but because Keto asked me to. I was talking to Keto. I thought he was there fighting at Karate Combat, but man, Blondie pulled it off, huh?
Not only she pulled it off, she did a great job, dude. I'm
Man,
so proud of her. That was just amazing. And I like being, that's the thing, like it gets a little quieter when the IFC actually comes on. The real people, they stick around, but I get to go pit side. Like I got to commentate a little bit too as well. Like just being right there while everything was going down. What an experience, man. It's going to be amazing. And that's the reason why I'm going to go to permissionless is just to see my boy Toki fight and be there for him. But it's yeah, Corey needs to make it out. That's all I'm gonna say. He needs to actually show up to one of these events at one point.
man, yeah, fucking Toki is taking it serious. He went to Thailand for a kickboxing camp for Muay Thai.
I'm with him right
Crazy,
now.
bro. Oh, what's up, Tokis?
You're in my
Yo,
ear, so
yo.
he's not gonna be able to hear you.
Oh yeah, man, what's good, man? Proud of you, bro. I mean, it really is a lot of commitment to go to Thailand for Muay Thai camp, man. Your shins are probably fucking killing you, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, his legs are gonna be like tattered for all that training.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. Man, a lot of
Nice.
exciting things happening at Mask, though. Besides the chart action, which is a bonus and a precursor to good things to come, we hope, But what's up with that browser extension, man, and the updates to the browser extension?
Yeah, let me cover
Get
a
right
couple
into it.
things here. Yeah, man. Well, first of all, I know you're in one of the main roles as CSO at Metatrust, so it was really cool to see an audit come out, which we'd worked, had you work on, and of course that came out with flying colors, no critical
Absolutely.
issues. Yeah, so that's good to see that out in the wild.
Yep, and we look forward to working with Mask on an expanded basis because it's important to have both privacy and security. I think they go hand in hand. So, actually, myself and Kari have been in talks about doing some more on both ends, and we love to be on the Mask extension in the web store for some of our partners, as well as some things that we have going on the back end. So stay tuned for that from the Metatrust side and Hash as well. We will make an announcement that Mask will be a formal partner for Hash AI as well. But on the security side, we would like to integrate both of our technologies into bringing something that's going to be tangible and usable. So we're happy that we can provide some of the security side for Mask, and we hope Mask can provide some more outreach via their network.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a great collaboration, very strategic as well in many ways, as you alluded to. And also we're real interested in, tapping into some of that amazing infrastructure you guys have, to whether it's to offer users an easy way to host Mask nodes in different places in the world, or for us to host some infra, and of course reduce our reliance on some of the big tech services we may use here and there for some of our infra. We want to bring it over to a reliable Web3 sort of based firm like Hash. So we're looking forward to that too. So it's
And
pretty cool.
yeah, could you imagine having a Mask AI agent based on our AI powered proxy agent? That'd be pretty cool too, where you could surf in proxy with Mask's privacy protocol. That would be a future changing disruptive technology, I think.
Yeah, 100%. It wouldn't be trackable. There'd be nothing retained on anyone's personal info. You can do it through mass networks, so it's not routed, through anywhere where someone can observe what you're doing. So every layer would be decentralized, private, secure, basically the best of all worlds. And it would be probably, if not very inexpensive, super competitive if you had to pay for the bandwidth. So that's the bonus.
Absolutely. Yep. And isn't it cool that Mask has data and privacy sovereignty protocol that doesn't require a relay that's the sound of a washing machine in your closet, and is not a and not a fork of Tor
Yes,
or
I
onion.
know. There's so many
I'm not
funny
gonna
things looking around.
I'm not gonna give them any time, but partner or not, I just tell it how it is. So, you know, I would I'm not taking shots, but I am taking shots. So like, you know, there's one thing about like if you have a partnership, it's about helping, right? And if part of that's being transparent and not pushing up cap, right? So there's a lot of cap sometimes from when people make claims on their technology. So, you know, like Mask provides a tangible asset that's, you know, applicable in real time, just like Hash provides returns to its holders via its mining and GPU operations, right? But there are other partners in the space that decide or feel like we should relaunch and have a little gizmo that you won't even allow us to evaluate. But enough on that. Kaori knows what I'm talking about. So
Yeah, man. I mean, there's a reason why we sort of went into it being not reliant on hardware, right? Like people can use hardware and put Mask on it, and it's kind of why we are really proud of having it open source. You know, someone could literally go onto the GitHub, download the source files, and put it on a Raspberry Pi and run exactly the type of thing you described, a little router, a little device at home, tap into it through their network, boom, you got it.
yeah, open source and common language. And like the analogy I like to use is what is a cheeseburger without cheese, right? So put some good cheese on your burger. And you know, Mask is that top quality cheese for sure.
Yeah,
Any
100%, man.
or a piece of
Yeah.
hardware. Actually,
Yeah, that's right.
you use Mask regularly. What do you feel like are some of the convenience points or some of the main things that you love about Mask? Since you've had some time on it too.
I think he got wrecked by X. He's trying to join a speaker again. You might have to disconnect and reconnect, buddy. I tried to make you speaker.
Yeah, I'm always getting rugged by X, man.
No, we're getting well. While he's tapping back in, it's good to mention like we're broadening our audience reach, you know, and user base, you know. So we just mentioned we've got an open source thing. This is for more technical people, right? They can take our core protocol, the Mask core software, run a node on any device, run it on a server in, let's say, Hash AI's infrastructure or another cloud provider. But then we've got the flagship products, which are for basic users or just everyday people. They don't want to tinker with things. They don't want to mess around with settings. They just want a couple clicks, boom. I get that privacy layer in my life. So we've got the browser. We're going to release an update of that pretty soon. We've got some amazing new additions to our little Web3 dApp store in there, which is basically like a way to explore projects that kind of stand strong in the space, like within the ethos of Mask, you know, privacy, security, user first. So Hash is going to be in there, which is cool. We've added them and a few others which we've announced. So that's cool.
Well, you know, we really appreciate having a partner like yourself that, you know, where, you know, they put proof as where the pudding is, and it's always provable on all of your browser extension, your utilities that you guys have, and, you know, privacy is key. I can't wait to try what you have in store for myself in China because, as you know, I really need it. So at times I have difficulties even hopping on with the best VPN, supposedly, right? But I know from
Yeah, well, it'd be great to hear some of the trials that we could do together because you would be a good use case, you know, to say, hey, does it work?
the Great Firewall's no joke, man. You know, and the Chinese engineers, man, they're on it. So, but if anything could do it, I think Mask could do it, and we need to provide a regular way of keeping our data free and clean. So. But I was going to ask Action. Action, you use Mask regularly. What is your feeling on it, and how does it compare to the uncomparables?
Let's see, he's speaker now. He should be able to go.
Well, I guess he might still be getting. He's in the middle of something. It's all good.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. Just unmute and jump in whenever you can, buddy. It says your speaker. But yeah, lots of people asking about the extension. So, just for those who might be new, like we've had a massive uptick in our traffic, on our website. We saw huge, like a 25% jump in user downloads last couple of days, which is amazing. We're definitely getting some very nice click through and conversion rates on traffic going to the website, which, just to plug, we aren't using any Google products or any tracking sort of ways. We use a
No.
private analytics.
Yeah, no external boosting or placement from those pariahs of the cloud. I call them.
That's right, man. None of the
Oh.
GE tech or big G, none of that
Yeah.
crap.
No
And
Broadcom.
no,
So-
that's right, man.
no pushing the industrialized data, So,
Yeah.
but
And we're timing all that together.
absolutely, man. And man, we're so excited to hear that Hash is on your web store, right?
Yeah, we'll have to probably do a separate space or just have you like where you can really showcase, maybe get Adam in there too and say,
Yeah,
hey, this is what Hash can offer. And what's cool is people could not that they'd be worried, because I'm sure you just have a very vanilla website. You're not probably there's no need for you to do hardcore analytics on visitors, but people can hop in there and stake and get rewards for mining. I mean, this is so cool. And they could do it through a private browser. I mean, it's so good.
Yeah, well, we can't wait to see that. You did it with Moon Tropica at the the GameFi mega space. So that was quite the Easter egg, and to have you on was amazing. So again, it's KEL movement, man, and I think quite a bit of that uptick in your traffic is from SRT3 too, because they really love everything that Mask does. So
I would think so. Yeah, I love talking with all the crew there. You got some amazing community members there as well. Hopefully, a lot of them will jump in and use our new products once we release it. So, the extension's coming along well. A lot of people asking about that. And again, the premise behind that is we have our own browser, and that allows us the freedom to be real innovative, like to put some sort of new user experiences that you can't really customize an everyday browser or the mainstay browsers with, because some of them are closed source code actually, but also some of them you can't really configure certain things the way you'd like to open it up to more open source tech like Mask. So we're going to make this extension where, hey, I think 40 or 50% at least of the browser market right now is Google Chrome. We don't like Google, but we know most users are on there. So if they don't want to leave Google, that's fine. We'll give them something that protects them within that Google moat and gives them some privacy back. That's our goal. And of course, we get very big brand recognition by being an extension in the Google Chrome store. So the biggest angle there is that, hey, why don't you come to us? But first, we'll come to you. We'll show up with our extension. You can try it out. And if you really want to unlock your privacy, maybe you could, take Mask Browser as well, put it in your daily driver, and explore the ecosystem. But part of our strategy we're working on now, and we're trying to coincide it, whether we release it with the extension launch or not, is we're trying to do something, and I think it's probably not done yet by any other main project I've seen, is we're trying to make a subscription model that's purely Web3. So with a normal VPN, you go on their site, you put a credit card and email in, and you pay a monthly fee for unlimited data or whatever, throttle data or whatever. And it might be $3, $4, $5 a month, right? There's not a lot of subscription models available, if any, for paying something with crypto. So we've actually got a strategic partner we've talked with. We've demoed some of their stuff, and we're trying to make that into a premium model within our offerings, our service offerings, where you can essentially have just a wallet. It might require an email, but we don't obviously keep that information. It's just for your subscription, and you pay with USDC or a blue chip for full premium service. All the features of Mask, all the extension, special stuff, hop count, country selection, all the extra stuff that is premium, and you can just pay a monthly fee in whatever currency you want, and you'd get your data taken care of with Mask. that's going to be a game changer. If anyone else knows of a crypto project that's offering a Web3 pure wallet subscription model, I'd like to know to see if they're successful, because I don't see many people doing that. Hell, I'd pay for my gym membership if I could pay with just a wallet and a monthly fee.
Oh, absolutely. And that's coming, man. As more and more banks bring, DeFi into TradFi, we can see that with just the heavy movement on stables and just the scalable integration of TradFi into DeFi as a whole. I mean, it's becoming more and more commonplace in other countries. It's regular, China, Emirates, anywhere in the GCC, almost Japan, and there's many places in Korea now that take DeFi either via wallet or tap and touch or apps. And I think it's only a matter of time before, Mask will be the same way. But I think Mask is the only product of its type on a broad scale that's doing subscription based via DeFi, via USDC. So, man, that's exciting and it's a great way for Mask to be a trailblazer in the space. And I think that it's worth a soft shill at least. Definitely will pushing it along. I'm gonna go to. I'm a Yuga holder or an ape holder, so I got invited to go speak at a Ape Fest in Lisbon. So I'll be giving a keynote speech at Lisbon. Might have to cover the privacy and data sovereignty position that we carry in the whole KEL movement. So we'll be in Lisbon in October, and look excited. I'm excited to meet up with like Jay Bond and Megan Meow and a few other of my friends at Yuga and ApeDAO. Should be a good one. And I don't know if people paid close attention, but I said, let me know, comment below on my post if you want to come, because I did. If people that paid attention, they'll see that I bought an extra ticket. So, or you're allowed one ticket extra to purchase. So might be a good incentive. Might have to take Calorie Action along. Who knows?
Oh man, if I can sneak away, that'd be great. I better start working on the family and the wife, the wife now.
I have to bring Ash speaks Portuguese. He might be invaluable. We're outside,
That's true, man. He would be our translator, right?
That's it, man. Yeah, the Portuguese is not so easy as Spanish, or if it was Spanish I could hobble along, but definitely not on the Portuguese. So, but yeah, Lisbon's beautiful. It's been a while, so I'm happy, and it's a big one for Yuga this year, and they're really looking at diversifying their privacy and security options. So, because ApeChain is going live this year, and they're having all of their proposals for their builder fund. They have $100 million builder fund. So,
oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, they said, Larry, come try to get some of this money for Hash or for MetaTrust or for Mask or any of your friends, and because they're really trying to get the best projects to diversify into ApeChain, and who could blame them? So.
Well, I had an interesting chat with someone, must have been last year, and I was saying how some people are very protective of their Web3 identity, right? Like when it comes down to a PvP, that might be a very expensive ape or whatever. Like some people would never want that connected to their real identity. Not only could you do a $5 wrench attack on someone and try and take the shit, but I mean, some people just want to keep those two sides of their life separate. And without proper privacy, you can't do that very easily, especially if you want to have a social presence on large public platforms like X and, whatever platform it is, chatting. I mean, it starts with your browser and interacting with things in the digital world. I'd love for Mask to be a part of that. And we've talked to people about that with securing their high value NFT collections, or whether it's apes or whether it's a whole chain. I mean, what we haven't announced yet is we have set up everything for this next chain. We want to pretty much be the flagship privacy protocol for. And it just shows that in the last year, even though it was a testnet support, we switched to testnet pretty quick when we had to support it for Polygon. It's showcasing our stance as chain agnostic protocol. So we're not gatekeeped to a single chain. We're not stuck on one chain, and if a chain dies, that we're dead with it. we can support multiple chains, and we're going to showcase that too, because that means chains could essentially come to us and say, we want your protocol to help secure privacy for our users, and we'll be there if the if the stars align and things are right. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show that the firepower is there, you know. So, and you guys are always moving along. And could you tell people that are listening that may not know actually how much of an OG Mask is in the space? You guys have been building for quite some time. Give people some of that back end, Kari, on what it is, Mask is, and where it started. I think people would be interested to hear that.
Yeah, I guess it's a good point. I often talk about the forward-thinking stuff because that's where a lot of people are looking, but you got to have humble roots, and I do think about it even if it's just internally. But literally next month will be our fifth year anniversary, 5th-year birthday, and we were literally kind of a garage project, if you will, 5 years ago, thinking about a name, thinking about if we could really raise up a protocol like this and make it actually function and make it something that a community will get behind. And we knew if we didn't have a community first, like it didn't have a core set of values and vision that a community could rally behind, that it wouldn't be worth doing it. But we really do. It wasn't like we foresaw how much craziness is happening now, like, because no one could, like censorship and blocking and arresting of software tech people, all sorts of crazy stuff we're seeing now in real life. But back then, it was still, privacy is a meta narrative. It's not going away. In fact, it's becoming more and more important. So yeah, we kind of started from humble roots there. We never once did an ICO or VC backing or angel investment. I've been approached many times by people wanting to, take large positions. And we've just tried to always stay close to the community with that, make sure there's no whale games. There's right now probably 95, 96% of the token supply is circulating in the hands of the community. Not whales, not VC people ready to dump when we go break all-time highs. None of that stuff is sort of here in this community because we grew it this slow and steady, very tough road to walk. But this, we've been through 2 bear markets and we're still iterating. We're still delivering products. We have live products. Gosh, I mean, it'd be the underdog story, but I think we really are. The underdog story, the stories I could tell as well. Once certain things happen, I would like to do more interviews on that because we've been through some crazy trenches in and out again. And it's just, I have to tip my hat to all of our OGs who've been with us for years now, some even longer than that 5-year period where they were helping behind the scenes and supporting such things, but also our team. Some of our team have been with us many years as well. I might be one of the oldest, but there's several that are equally as old as me with this holding the vision strong. And honestly, I don't know many protocols that have that history that actually can say, you can go to our website right now, download it, use it. It's not controlled by a corporation. It's not backed by, VC who will want to change your strategy to suit their returns. We don't have to bend the knee at the moment to anyone, and we hopefully never will. And that's got to be there if you want to build a protocol that's going to be resilient for decades.
That's it. Yeah, proofing yourself by keeping control, and that's part of also being a KEL. You're not going to have your values or your core ethics divert your narrative for Mask. And I'm happy that you really went through that because you didn't just go through one, you've been through 2 bears. 1 month in DeFi is an eternity, right? But you've been around for 5 years, and that's something that I really respect. I myself have been around since Litecoin times, and so I can respect how long you've been at it, and mostly my exposure to the space has been within security, but it's kind of diversified as we went along. And that's why I think Mask is so near and dear to me as a whole, because it provides something that's a part of our key ethos, data sovereignty and having some privacy. Privacy is easily lost when you're out browsing on whatever you're doing, or you're on AWS or Azure, and you think you have a lot of processing power, and you have to pay exorbitant amounts of money to do this or that, but they're double dipping. They're selling your data or providing your data for the powers that be, and also still charging, many of us. There would be no Web3 without them, and that monopoly needs to stop. And how do we stop that? Well, we stop it at one point at a time. And one of the biggest points is taking back control of your identity, your privacy, and your ability to keep your data to yourself. So you got to love Mask for that. I mean, again, like I said, it doesn't have to, there's not billions of dollars in marketing on this. This is built by a genuine guy and a genuine team. They have a genuine community, and it's not always easy to be the cool kid. It's definitely not popular to be a bandwagon jumper, it's easy to do that, but it's not popular to be the guy that's not going to do that. So that's why I love Colorado, and I love what Mask does, because as they would say, it hits different, right? So.
Yeah, man, we try and stand out. And, in crypto, it's hard to stand out amongst the crowd because there are lots of projects out there. Projects get rise and fall in a month. You'll probably have 1,000 projects rise and fall in the space. It's crazy how fast things move. So, I mean, even just lasting one cycle, I was always proud of that. Considering, we don't have someone just pouring money, from the background, pouring money to keep a project alive. Like, we're building it and creating the value ourselves with what the project does, with what the product does. And we're constantly working on it. I mean, these things aren't easy to think out too, because, as much as I'd love a large team of gigabrains and many people who are smarter than me, which are in our team, I don't like to be the smartest one because that means I'm not growing like I should. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to achieve some of these things we want. The feature, for example, the country selection feature. I mean, you look at a project like maybe Tor or these VPNs, they have a simple concept built into the protocol, which is why they can do those things in a simpler way, because they have a more centralized model. Where you're as decentralized as Mask, I just want community members who are really patient. And I love all of you. You're so patient. Some of you have been here years waiting for some of these things. The reason it takes long is one, obviously we don't have a 20-person large engineering team. But also these things are very difficult to design and implement, but we're doing it right. So once we get it done, it's going to be as decentralized as the entire protocol is now, meaning, it's going to be thoroughly tested. It's got everything open sourced where it's been rigorously looked at by several devs, and it's going to do what it says. And so you'll basically get this amazing product that combines all the stuff that people use now. Tor, VPN, DVPN. You put on hardware. I mean, I'm sure someone will probably make some for their friends and family and give it to them or sell it to them, because it's that easy to do once the protocol's made. So yeah, that's how we kind of look at it. And we're really excited to just get back into the Greenways space where retail and new users are coming into crypto. And we want them to see Mask first as the very first privacy protocol product that they can try. So this chain that we've supported, we feel like that's the best audience for us to get in front of the next 10 to 50 million users in the next year, because that's probably the growth that these chains will see. Do we want them to come right in and say, cool, I can get a VPN, a decentralized Web3 VPN that I can pay for a couple clicks from my wallet. I can jump into crypto and become a Mask user in 10 minutes or less. And if we nail that, which I think we will, there's no stopping us, bro. We'll accelerate to behind Brave.
Well, again,
That's
and
the goal.
another big thing about Mask is they're supporting a whole blockchain. And the other thing that I really want people to understand is that there are other projects called like Any something and Cage something, but they don't have any actual tangible product. They don't have a product that's not someone else's MVP. What I mean by that is, if you look at some of the hardware, you can definitely tell that a router is a common router you can find on Alibaba, for example. And this other relay thing that I've never seen in real life, never seen one, still haven't seen one. They're 20 minutes away from our headquarters in England and still haven't seen it. So what is there to hide, right? I mean, if you have that, you have pictures and images of thousands of these relays going out, but there's nothing. But you can hop on Mask and get set up right away, like Kari said, in 10 minutes, and you can use lots of stuff they've already developed. And that's what I like is, a company that has more than an MVP, they have a product that's actually usable and continues to evolve, and you get honest feedback from the founder. What I mean by that is, and they chose to build it in a common language. And it's open source. Of course, they have their proprietary IP, but that's a big thing moving forward because it keeps entanglement of the powers that be at bay. And I just want people to pay attention when you look at a project like a privacy protocol like Mask. It really is important how you look at the foundation. The foundation of this, of course, is based on open source. So it can be free of the entanglements, right? And I think, Cowrie, you really should give a little bit of background on that, because I think people would really be interested in hearing about that, like why or what was the motivation. It's a little technical, but you can give them the peeled back version, right?
Yeah, on what? On the design of it, or what was
Yeah,
sorry, what was the question?
using open source language.
Oh, well, I mean, so it's
You still have
interesting
your
when,
but,
no, it's fine. This is
Yeah.
more like a tech, like not a tech talk so much, but I'll keep it very brief. Because, I've learned a lot, running as a project lead. I'm not a native developer. I'm not the most technical developer type of person, but I think more in the strategic sense. But when we first started, maturing the code base to make these products live, we were like, cool, it's really good that we open sourced and kept it open sourced early. You do see some very large companies and very large Web3 players kind of trying to change their license and modify it to make it like a business license. And then, these little quirks come into play where it's free to, where it's proprietary with trademarked and stuff for a few years, and then people can use it. I mean, there's all different little ways that industry tries to stifle innovation, good for the good or bad. But early on, we developed the whole software in Rust. And back when this first really was starting to be creative, Rust wasn't that commonplace. Now you have Rust powering entire blockchains. You've got a Web3 programming language called Substrate, or a framework called Substrate, which is built entirely in Rust. And the cool thing about Rust, this is why the open source, and we're talking about, we didn't go a hardware route. We didn't have to, because Rust, the way it's a low-level language, you can cross-compile it to a very, very diverse set of hardware. You could put it onto a single board computer, onto servers, onto a Linux box, onto a Ubuntu server in the cloud, whatever it is, an Android phone, all sorts of stuff. You can cross-compile it to all sorts of chips and architectures. So by having it open source, the premise is that anyone can experiment with it, and hopefully people will be able to make it into some cool use cases, or some new variations, and evolve the product into things we never even have thought of yet. I mean, who's to say that one day it can't run purely on the same level as a language model that sort of works through that with the protocol in the core of it? I mean, in concept, that could be totally feasible. You could have an AI that's purely powered within a Mask ecosystem of its device. Like, that'd be pretty cool too. All sorts of stuff. We haven't thought of all of it.
Possibilities on open source, but on like Rust, for example. We have KRC20 coming out soon, which is Caspa. Their mainnet contracts will come out. People are already minting block by block, but
Yeah.
the big thing is, we have a whole new POW that's coming out on Rust, and you can just see the pathways for cooperation with using something like Mask. And I'm excited to also announce that we'll be providing the first audits and first formal verifications on KDX for the KRC20 from KDX Group. So, and
Wow.
would love network out Mask. So yeah, MetaTrust is doing big things. I was able to establish a relationship with their core team there, and yeah, we're Zeke and JJ from KDX. We're going to get on to. We're already in the process of doing some security and getting the contracts formally verified, because they don't have formalized support yet, but they will. And again, that's the utility of Rust, right? So Rust and Golang are providing more pathways. It's just a solid extension of Solidity. It's providing more, flexibility. And it's, if you look at like all of the research that's went into Rust to improve it, I think protocols like Mask and like Caspa have really improved. Rust is not just integration and adaptation, but also the uses and the understanding of the language. So that's why I wanted you to break that down, Kaori, because I think it's really important for everyone to know that and why you built in Rust.
Yeah, and there's a lot of nuanced things. I feel like our history and all those little nuanced things, it's a rich area to dive into, and you can get quite technical really quick. But I've been talking with the team a lot recently, and I mean, I love branching off into those topics because we could talk for ages. But I also got to always bring myself back, my mind and my focus back, because I know, as cool as it sounds to us, like for a lot of users, they they don't always share the same passion, right? Like if someone looks at a Lambo and they want to jump in, they just jump in, they chuck it into like first gear and throttle it red line until it goes as fast as possible. And they're not going to go and look at like, oh, what type of gearbox is in here? Let me look at all the engine parts and this and that. Like they just love the feels, and they don't love the tech. They love like what it does. So I mean, that's why we've spent so much time on the UI side to make that browser look slick, and the animations, even the sound effects we put in. Like we know that's important for our core group of users, whether we start at 10,000 and move to 1 million. We want all the million and beyond to enjoy what they see, and they don't care about the tech as much as long as it does what it says, and that's what's cool.
I was going to comment that your guys' UI is so much better than those other two that I mentioned. It looks like they paid someone on Fiverr to do it, right? So
Bro, they might as well have just put some sound effects of the old broadband dial-up sound when
Bro,
you connect.
It's crusty, man. I'm not talking shit. I'm just, again, it's just what it is, right? If you go and compare, and I think that'd be cool to put like a brand X comparison. Not that you're talking shit, but just giving a live assessment of the market, because I think that Mask isn't really appreciated for the gem that it is when you compare to, I mean, there's so many, right? There's all these other VPN providers too that don't provide what Mask does, right? It's just they buy the service from someone else. I'm not going to mention who they are. And then they peddle theirs off as the next big thing in VPNs. But there's more to virtual privacy networks than just buying one and then relabeling it. Yeah, you're going to make money doing that, but it's really catching up. And what I mean by that is, like Kaori described, like people are not as interested in the technology sometimes, but it's getting to the point now where people are, because they're becoming discerning customers like myself, or in action. There's a lot of people that, we want to just get up and run and play, but now the market is so flooded that there has to be some discerning qualities. And that's what I like about Mask is, again, I said it hits different. If you just compare the two, like to the ones that I mentioned that are tokenized virtual privacy networks with so-called extra utility. But again, it's something that they bought on Alibaba, bought some VPN service from a larger vendor, are on a cloud, and paying for a huge cloud service that, I mean, it totally goes against the ethos and the meaning of having not just a VPN, but a privacy network. It's more than that, So I like to look at Mask as a holistic privacy network, not just a virtual private network. It's different because you can actually use it on other things, So if you're putting your money in two places, you might as well get the most for your money. And that's why I like Mask, because they actually have the technology, they have the time in, and the pedigree to prove their product. They have an MVP that actually works, and then they have even, beyond that. And we'll be the first to admit that they're going to continue to evolve. They didn't come onto the scene saying, we're the greatest thing since sliced white bread, Buy this little shitty box that we can label whatever we want, but I found it on Alibaba in 15 minutes when Larry went to go searching for it. I really fucking hate that. Excuse my language. But I just feel
You're
like,
right.
yeah, you know what I'm talking about, man. It's bullshit, man. If you're going to invest on the token side and then invest in the service, right? And then you're going to propagate it to other people. Like I said, the market is so competitive now that there should be just some discerning differences, right? But Mask, there really is no competition for it right now. And I get
Yeah, not with how diverse it is, with the way we can adapt it and use it. I think it's got the most features for the easiest to the most advanced types of users.
It's also doesn't have a server a router that they bought on Alibaba, and doesn't have a UI fiber.
Yeah, man.
Dropped, so.
Yeah. Well, what you described is common in the corporate world sometimes, where there's white labeling all over the show, right? That's what they call it, white labeling.
Yep.
And they basically take someone else's tech or something that's open source, and they slap their brand or label on it. They iterate slightly or pivot into the next niche that they think is going to pop, and they brand it with keywords that make it sound cool, and they raise money behind it. All the team get really well paid, and they hope the users stay. And like you say, the market is so saturated now. I mean, we did some market research, really only just like the last 2 weeks, some more in-depth research, but on Web2 VPNs. And we're looking at like, okay, how do they get big? How do they design the revenue model? How do they keep relatively sticky, user stickiness? How do they keep users sticky? And how do they stay relevant, right? And honestly, they're all doing social media mass marketing hardcore. They spend lots of money on ad funnels. They get KOLs who are not KELs. KOLs are just small timers. Yeah. And they get user-generated content, and it makes it sound like the next sliced bread, stay with us, hey. And then you look at their site, and I won't say the name, but we look at them just to see, okay, how can we be successful, but do it right with the holistic approach, right? But you get these companies, and you ask yourself, if I have a private VPN solution and it's costing me $2 a month, is it really that private? Is cheap equals good in the privacy tech security world? I don't know, man. I'd rather pay a premium for something that's I know is going to be good.
I mean, like, for example, I'm going to shame them now, ExpressVPN.
That's who I was thinking of.
They're one of the first, right? I bought them going into China because, it's the best, right? But for 2 years, I couldn't use it. Could you imagine? I was writing my capstone because I was in the middle of my PhD capstone for Georgetown for my applied intelligence program, and for 1 year, I didn't have internet. It just didn't work, and I still paid for. I paid for the I can't remember the special package for like 3 or 4 or 5 years. So I feel like I paid for something that just doesn't work. No matter the updates, no matter what you do, it didn't work, right? So I have a thud of a VPN. I have another VPN. I'm not going to name them for the sake of prosperity, but it does work. But it doesn't do what Mask can do, right? And so, like, I know some of the marketing ins and outs because ExpressVPN was attached to CryptoHub before, out of Israel. They did some of their marketing and placement. They did a lot of the casinos, crypto casinos and stuff. And it was just fascinating to kind of get some of the insight from CryptoHub and from CoinScope on what the cross marketing was between Web3 with DeFi and with ExpressVPN, and it was just kind of eye watering, So if you believe in that business model, then Mask should be a no brainer for you, not just from the tech.
I agree.
But yeah, you might not want to say it, Cowrie, but I'll say it because I fucking hate them. I just got to be real, man. I spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars for no reason. Can you imagine? And it wasn't just for that. It was also I needed to be able to bank. make calls, check on relatives and friends, do work. I couldn't do any of that without result, having to go to some more extreme measures from my previous career, my background before, to circumvent the Great Firewall. Which
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure you would have found your way. Not happily though, having to deal with all that
no,
rubbish, right?
putting myself at extreme risk and using hardware and assets that could compromise me where I'm at, so that are against the law for sure. But now I don't
Yeah.
have to do that, thankfully. But see, communication is key. I always tell people in DeFi, you got to look at fiat or token profit as just a vehicle for Meta. That's the most important thing, and that's going to be, and you can see that symbolically through our reduced reliance on paper currency or money. It's a perfect parallel. It's a perfect metaphor for it, right? So everything we're using is meta anyways. You use your debit card, your credit card, and now in China, we've been using WeChat and Alipay for a long time. You just use your phone for everything. And
Yeah.
that's the world, right? So that's why something like Mask is so important for you to have. I'm not shilling Mask. I'm just telling you why a product like Mask or Mask itself could have so much good effect on your life, but also give you the ability to stay sovereign, to have some privacy. Privacy is
Yeah.
an uncommon, resource these days. We're in a 24-hour news feed society. We're in a 24-hour surveillance society. The only privacy we have sometimes is between our eyeballs and our phone or our desktop at home. And where can you find that at? You can't find that anywhere else because, in some places in the world, they will zoom in on your phone screen if they figure you to be a threat vector. I'm not going to tell you where that is, but there are AI algorithms that will run and will look at your body movements and your eye movements and your vocalizations and determine if it's worth zooming in on your screen. If you don't believe that, there are many airports that you go through when you go through customs where they ask, hey, can you give us your phone so we can see why you're here? And I've seen it in the U.S. I've seen it in Australia, where the border customs authority will ask to see your phone and see why you're here and to provide, probable cause for why you should stay. So, it's harder than just clicking off your phone now, right? So, what a perfect parallel.
Yeah, I think, and those types of conversations are becoming more and more common, right? It's not to scare people into saying you need this product, because unfortunately that's what a lot of the marketing's done with the Web2 slang, which you mentioned, one of the companies. They know that some of that can funnel users to them, but it's really like allowing people to realize, hey, I've got worth. It's hidden. The software design and the platform design is not hidden anymore. You are the product if you're using something free. Social media is free because they use your data and your behavior to market you. Like if ads were banned, all these companies would fail.
That's it.
TikTok, Facebook, and that shows people with that one statement how powerful their own data is. And until we preserve that data for ourselves and preserve our value for ourselves, you're kind of just giving it away. And I think that's one of the biggest metas that privacy should be reinforcing now in the modern world, is that everyone listening, your behavior and your actions and your decisions and what you do online is all worth something. Now, you get to decide what the apps that you use, the projects you support, and the money you spend. That's your voting power to who you want to give that value to. If you want to keep it to yourself, then you choose not to use certain things. You choose certain companies that you feel are more power to you. They give you more respect for your data. And then there's companies that don't give a shit, and they sell your data to any middleman they want and extract maximum value and giving you none. In fact, you probably have a massive net negative, because not only are they using your data against you to market things you might be compulsively buying, they keep doing it. And they do it in a way where they know it works because they see the data and how it changes and what you click on and all that stuff. And now everyone's saying it's a current, actually, segue tiny bit to how everyone's saying at the moment. We're in an election cycle and everyone's trying to cancel X because they're like, there's not enough censorship. There's not enough protections. The algos are bad. But listen, what are the algos paid from? The users, the people. The algos aren't evil.
Yeah.
The people's behavior is what drives it. And if you don't want someone to do something, then you just stop using the app for that, or you just go and do something different. Like, it's not the company or the protocol that's evil. And it shows how much people's behavior in an aggregate fashion drives certain things. But to bring us back to the privacy thing, like, your data is so valuable that most people don't realize it. And I'll give you one thought to take away as well. We mentioned that company, ExpressVPN.
Yeah, that's it.
There is such big money in privacy in these types of technologies. It's amazing. And again, I don't often talk about tokens and price and all that, but a protocol like Mask, sitting where we are, is absolutely absurd. It's obnoxious the way that we're still sort of undervalued. And yes, I know marketing plays the biggest part in that, and that will happen very soon. But that company, ExpressVPN, sold 2 or 3 years ago for almost $1 billion.
Yeah, that's facts.
$1 billion. And they were bought by, I believe it's a foreign-owned company. I think it's maybe Chinese.
Yeah.
But Cape Technologies owns them. And they own 4 other VPN providers. Now, who do you think's aggregating the data on their users now?
Smart guy. But I was going to say that Mask is undervalued because they didn't sell their soul to have a better market price, right? Or to have a token that's aggregating, to the billions, right? I mean, we'd all love to see that, but that's what I respect about Mask as a whole, is that they didn't sell their soul to the devil to make this available at the grassroots level, and it's quickly becoming more and more adapted every day based on its values and ethos. That's important, that you don't necessarily have to sell out to the powers that be, especially since, I always say this, and I think it's very appropriate for this, is that as a singularity, you're an extremist, or, you're a thorn in the side to the machine, right? But cumulatively, just as a group, we provide immutability like the blockchain. And I think that continues to be important, both in data and your privacy. Again, you might have 1% of your day actually be semi-private, but that 1% is quickly turning by the wayside. And it's, I hate to say it, but, it's not fear-mongering, but it really is the truth. And many people are continuing to push the narrative that you have to have a data privacy product to have some semblance of privacy. But Mask isn't doing that marketing, but it really is the truth, though, that you need to start having some, countermeasures to kind of put space between you and what's coming. We talk about 1984 and George Orwell. Orwellian society is already here. That has nothing to do with your political views or where you live, but we live in a data information control society. And, there needs to be privacy, it's not just what you're looking through or looking for, it's who's looking at you and how much of your privacy or your private life do you want to put out. Even those that are fully doxxed, it doesn't matter. We like to have some parts of our life kind of quiet,
Yeah, that's so right, man. I mean, I saw this question floating around on X. I think Startpage, which is a private search provider, posted it, and it's kind of cool to see that every now and then. It's the whole question, like, or the statement: if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear, right? But it's so flawed to think that way, because that's basically saying, well, hey, I mean, I don't mind if anyone knows everything about me. You have no identity anymore because you can't hide anything. Not that you're hiding something that's bad. It's very strange, and we're thinking about that stuff, 40 years after that book.
Right. You're totally right, because people will weaponize harmless or your meta or your data that has nothing to do with anyone, but it's regularly weaponized because everyone and people have agendas, you know. And I think that's a regular thing when you're a public figure, that things can be taken out of context, or people can just use your likeness, or even say you have family, if you have children, especially if you have children. There are many people that are sick people that you just couldn't imagine. It's amazing that people have this level of evil and this amount of time to sit here and figure out ways to weaponize your meta against you. Or, you know, cancel culture is very true. It's a woke reality. And again, this has nothing to do with politics, but it has everything to do with your ability to circumvent and steer uh, your likeness and your privacy for your own ends and your own means, rather
Larry,
than
I
being.
can get.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry,
I'm
I
sorry.
just got back online. Finally, can actually talk. So I'll give you like
He's
a real
here.
life example that I just yeah, that I just experienced. So like I was downstairs and finally like I was just talking to Vitalik. Like there's 20 people standing around and he's just hanging out in the lobby. And like while I'm talking to him, what people are doing, literally coming behind him and trying to take pictures. Because he's like, dude, I just want to talk. I don't want to take pictures. Like, not doing pictures today. Let's just have conversations. And people are just doing everything that he possibly can to get that photo, you know, that shot with Vitalik next to him. And he's like, I don't want this. But who knows? What if that guy has some, you know, random project and Vitalik's just looking in the right direction when that picture is shot? All of a sudden, it's like, oh, now that guy's supporting that project? Really? Like, it's so crazy how things can get misconstrued and, you know, just put in a really bad light without people even trying. So you're dead on, Larry. Like, this is super important. And I was almost certain that Corey was about to say that, you know, freedom isn't free. I was like, are you American? What's going on, man?
Let
No way, man. No way.
Let's
I'll fight
go.
for everyone's freedom. It doesn't matter who they are, you know. That's freedom cannot be given, bro. Freedom has to be taken.
Action, I think what you said was even goes beyond that, like, you know, your photo, your likeness. But like, you remember when he did the bull 1 and the bull 2, like the meme of just, you know, Ethereum is bullish. He did it because people kept bugging him about it, but then you saw every project and their mom start posting or reposting or adding their you know, their logos and their meta onto those posts without his permission. You know, I mean, he didn't give any endorsement at all. And there's a lot of people that can be misinformed. I mean, it happens all the time, even in like a Telegram group where it's supposed to be secure for your protocol or your community, but people take your likeness. There's no way to verify. That's why, unfortunately, we have to have these blue check marks or a gold check mark or a verified account, and you have to pay for it. And so it should be reasonable to surmise that not just verification of your identity, but the ability to, you know, maneuver your meta and your privacy. Like, it's a sad day, but I'd rather do it with Mask, where I know it's not for the man, or for like Cape Group, where they own more than just those 4 VPN protocols. They also own one of the largest uh, computer science labs in the world, by the way, Kari, if you didn't know that.
I
So,
think they own HMD Global as well, or one of those, eh?
man, you are a smart man. And Kari, I want to let you know that you talked about white label. MetaTrust white labels AI scan tool. So when you pay for an audit, or you have this privacy in your meta, we white label 3 AI security scan tools for some of the top security companies. Some of them we're not on NDA with, so I'll just release, like Slow Mist and Peck Shield. They will claim that they're their tools, but they're certainly not. There's another bigger one that claims to have the best audit in the world, and it ends in an N. You know, and it's a play on words from hack. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to violate the NDA, but I will say,
Yeah.
when you're paying $6,000 or $8,000 for that standard deflationary audit, your privacy is not shared because you're on a common AI scanning tool that's adding to a regular repository. So your IP, although there's an NDA, but that's still on the repos, right, for other audits. And then secondly is, you know, again, you're paying for a white label solution that's really shouldn't be called a white label. It should be called a muddy solution because it's being shared with many people. So I wanted to kind of throw that parallel out there because Mask doesn't do that, and MetaTrust definitely doesn't do that because we're the ones making it, right? But you have to
That's
think,
amazing.
you know, we don't.
That's it really shows how ahead of the game you are, where it's just no one realizes, right? It's like the iceberg. You only see the tip of this of the whole technology stack.
And Mask's audit were not done with AI scan tools. It was done with a static audit, 4 engineers comparing against repositories with scanning tools that are just meant to, scan common code base. Because most 80% of smart contracts in the space are forked somewhere or some part, right? But Mask contract was done by static audit with 4 engineers comparing their findings. And I'm happy to say that Mask has a very squeaky clean smart contract. So just putting that out there, not shilling Mask, but I'm shilling the quality of their smart contract. And it's a good thing to have though too. I like Mask. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, we led with simplicity too, we didn't do fancy stuff. So, we knew that the more fancier and the more sort of like customized you get in code, you can increase the vulnerability landscape, right? By trying to do things in a certain way. And sometimes you need to lead with simplicity because that's elegance. And so we didn't overthink it. So I'm glad that cleared everything too. And just for you, my friend, I put one of my guys on this in the team. We are going to upload that audit. Once you give me the final PDF, we're going to upload it on every single rubbish AI audit platform where how you go to search your coin and it says, oh, this token has a vulnerability in it. Update now, and they make you pay for an audit. I'm going to upload that PDF from MetaTrust into every single one of those as proof. And they're like, and I'm like, nah, you guys are shit. Here's a real audit. Boom. And then we're going to do that, bro.
So sick and tired of being on like CMC or CoinGecko or Etherscan or Bubbles or whatever and seeing the Go Plus. I'm not taking. They're just straight. That's cap. Like the cap on my head and in my PFP. That shit is cap. It's really just drawing from repositories and pulling from other smart contracts that are related by maybe 50 or 60 lines of code, and then they automatically, say, "Oh, this is a honeypot. This is a bad contract." And what they really want to tell you is they want you to pay money for their expanded scan tool audit that costs them nothing, and then they want you to pay the money to get those comments removed. And then they, of course, partners. I'm not going to name them. That you're seeing their Go integrated security measure makes them look like a good guy, but it's just a good way to make money. So good on you for that, Kaori, because that's bullshit.
Yeah, man, I'm doing that. And I'm going to make a list, maybe another space soon. I'll go ahead and rattle them off and I'll share all the rubbish AI, stupid, fake audits that they show. It's saying something's not good. And I'm going to make a list of all the ones that we've uploaded that real audit, properly done by full engineer team and upload them all.
Yeah, your lead engineer's name is How Long. He's one of the best engineers in the space. His English name is Hugo. See, that's how transparent we are. And then, of course, you had myself also, comparing logic. And so, there's 2 of us there, and the two other engineers are not docs, but myself, I am the chief security officer for that reason. So on the logic end and comparing on its mechanism of action, etc., I don't know very many other C-level officers that will get into a community to talk or just talk individually. But that's why I like Kaori. He's the same way. I mean, he's the founder, but we're sitting here having this dialogue, and I just let people know I was on the audit for your smart contract, especially the security sides,
No, you're right. Not a lot of people will sit down with their engineering team and dive into clients' services and stuff. And again, testament to you, man. I've been very grateful to, to become friends with you. And again, Action's the one that teed it up. He's probably one of the best,
Yep.
including yourself, the best KELs that I've ever met in the space. And it goes to show where great minds come together, great things can be done. So this is just the first step, really, of some collaborations, which is why I'm still super excited every time I talk about it, because there's so much more that we could do. When it's ready, we'll announce it, you know?
Yeah, I got to give credit where credit is due. Action is a big man in the space, man, and I always feel humbled that I got to meet him and that we got to chop it up and become friends. And we worked together on a lot of different things, you know, and he's included me. And as we expand, you know, we just keep sharing. A real good guy in general, man. Like, and come from some of the same mud too, which is good. You know, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I know a lot of these people in this space right now, IRL, or I have, you know, been able to talk to them in person. That means a lot to me. I'm going to go to New Zealand to go see Kaori for sure, and you know, I got to run into Action again, and for sure, we work on a lot of the same teams, same projects. We have a lot of things in common professionally, but more importantly, he's just a good guy and OG in the space too, especially when it comes to media. He's one of the ones that you're going to look to. And there's so many other people right now that are listening in. You know, we got Colt and Zombini from and Ipsal from Mainnet. You know, and we got Donna from Sonar and from DeFi Collective. So one of the boss women in the space for sure. If you should follow and see what Donna's up to, because you know, not a lot of women doing it the way she has for the amount of time she has, and one of the most educated people in how TradFi integrates into DeFi. So give her a follow and check her out as well. And you know,
Yeah.
that's my me scratching the backs of the people that scratch mine. But no, really though, these are great people. But I can't wait to get to New Zealand, Kaori, and meet IRL too. That's definitely going to happen.
Yeah, we got to do it. But yeah, Donna, give that Shield Maiden a follow. She's awesome. I want to dive into some of that Sonar platform stuff too one time and have a look, dig into that because it looks super cool. And she's definitely been an OG in her own right in the space too, from what I've seen.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely, man. She's everywhere too, and just you know. But isn't it ironic though that we have a kiwi and a koala in the same chat? It's a beautiful thing, right? So
Yeah, as long as we don't bring up the rugby, we're usually all friendly and we'll have drinks together.
all blacks.
No, you can't show your bias, bro, because then, be careful.
But if you
We've-
got to know,
we haven't been doing well, bro. That last game against the South African team, it wasn't very fun to watch.
Yeah, give them credit, man. South Africa tore them a new butthole. But I'm not a bandwagon jumper. I've been an All Blacks fan for a long time. I met Jonah Lolomu in real life, man, and I got to give him respect. The NFL drafted him. When the Cowboys drafted him, they really wanted to they tried to draft him like 3 times, and he said no. I'm a rugby player. I'm staying with rugby, even though he could have made millions and millions more in the U.S. playing for the Dallas Cowboys. It was really hyped up. He said no. I'm for New Zealand. I'm for Samoa, for Tongans, for Fijians, for all the island culture, and I'm going to stay playing rugby in New Zealand. I got to give him respect for that. That's like
He's a legend.
Turn away the big money to make the good money, right? It's always like if you do the right thing, you're gonna be able to take care of your bills. So, shout out New Zealand and All Blacks and Jonah Lolomu, man. So.
No, that's awesome. You brought him up. I heard him on the a couple stories about some other All Black some who are still alive, some All Blacks that are retired. Speaking of all the amazing stories from him, there's a lot of culture left from him in the rugby scene here in New Zealand. So you'll be in good company down here. Speaking that way, you'll get a lot of free drinks at the pub and stuff, Larry.
I bet you're shocked though that I would be an All Blacks and a Jonah Lolomu fan though. I bet, huh?
No, that is news to that. I'm in shock, bro. I'm amazed. That's awesome.
Just a Korean Yank, right? So.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, hey, gone. Oh man, we've had a
Overpowered.
good while. I was going to say we've been talking for a good while. We actually have someone who's wanting to request to speak. Maybe we'll close out
Yeah,
with a few guests,
fired
right?
up. Fired up, man.
All right, let's get him up here. Prometheus, Perfect Falls. Let's get you up here. There you go, man. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for listening.
Hey,
Oh,
thanks for having me up. I've just discovered the Mask browser, and I'm kind of in love. It's amazing.
there you
I'm
go. A
here.
testimonial live. That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm in the
Oh,
UK, and I can tell you, I need to hide my IP. For some of the things I definitely go around browsing and commenting on. But yeah, no, they've literally been arresting people here for Facebook posts. I don't know if you guys know.
oh
It's
yeah.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's
And
great.
yeah, sorry, Larry, I didn't hear you. What'd you say?
Oh, it's crazy, man. I can't talk about, life or limb for your civil liberties. You know,
I
the prime
I
minister
know,
could have
right?
the prime minister could have just came out and said, "Hey, both sides are wrong." Then there wouldn't have been rioting, and sent the police in to do some civil, and that's common sense, right? But nope, it had to be too woke, so woke that it, turned the country upside down, and
Oh,
continues to.
so crazy.
Come on, Larry. What do you mean you can't define a woman? Okay, like this is the 21st century here. Okay, we appreciate all 172. Anyway, but like our criminal, sock puppet in chief, who's literally said things like, "Oh, if you had to choose between Westminster and Davos, which one would you pick?" And he said Davos. So we've clearly got a true patriot in office. But no, I appreciate what Mask is doing. I'm checking out your documentation and stuff right now. Even places like Bangladesh, where I also am originally from, and I've family there. Like it's you know.
Dhaka.
Dhaka, man. Yeah, we got to
Yeah,
bring you guys to Dhaka, man. Like, I'm actually looking to organize like a blockchain conference there. We'd love to have, as
best
many.
interest,
Yeah, have you
best
been there?
interest in the world. Yeah, absolutely. And their new train. Shout out their new metro. But and shout out them taking control of the country again. I'm
Oh
not going to say
yeah, that whole
all
coup
of it.
was amazing to watch with the students
Yeah, the
protesting.
students took it over, and you very well will likely see DeFi in action and some exchanges coming. I'm not going to speak too much on that, but as a consultant for Indonesia, when they were setting up their blockchain and exchange policies, I'll tell you that I may have been reached out to provide some more advice on the balance between Sharia law and common sense finance, since banking is not applicable. Just putting that out there.
That's
Wow.
amazing, Larry.
Shout out all my
But yeah,
Bangla people. Not to get them mistaken with Sri Lankan or Pakistani people. They have their own unique identity. That's often done. Not all brown people are the same. And you want
no,
to talk
no,
about
no,
some of
no,
the most pious Muslims in the world? Go to Bangladesh. Very friendly. Not like what people say. Just putting that out there.
yeah, and our women have a lot more rights. And I'm a follower of Christ, by the way. But I've extended family who are they're chill compared to a lot of the other countries. And my dad used to work for the new prime minister, Mohammed Yunus, who's very business oriented, by the way. So I wouldn't be surprised, Larry, that you might have gotten a call or something. But my team and we're trying to organize like a Bengali blockchain business forum, something of that sort. Bring in as many different companies and minds there, because it's a huge market, man. Like, it's not just the 180 million people in the nation. You've actually got a massive diaspora around the world, right? And so you add that up, that's another at least 50 million or 100 million people. Some of the best people in tech are from Bangladesh as well. The original founder of YouTube was a Bangladeshi. Khan Academy. Like there's so many of us guys in tech, and so I really want to make Bangladesh like a forefront nation in this regard, and having a browser like Mask, oh my goodness, it would make the world of it. Because even in the last under the last administration, which you talked about, Larry, like there were so many people who got arrested, disappeared as a result of their online activities, and for not doing anything illegal, by the way. Okay, we're not talking, darknet, drugs, none of that. It's just like I have a different opinion. Oh shit, why is the police here? Like it's literally getting to that stage, right? So from that perspective, I'm very grateful for projects like Mask. You guys are doing an awesome job. Thank you.
Thank you for jumping in and sharing that. Because I mean, that's what really keeps us going, especially myself, is talking to the real users and hearing like, listen, this really helps me in my day-to-day life. Like a lot of people are really deaf to or blind, whatever way you want to look at it, to the real struggles that everyday people have in some environments. And we always have to be grateful for what we've got. And I think that's actually the core ethos of Mask that I've always tried to recant to everybody, including the team, because there's lots of places where we do have more freedom. And the point of Mask is that you can share that freedom with people that need it, right? Some people don't even realize they need it until they really do. And there's a protocol there that can provide it and share it, trustlessly, permissionlessly, with no bias, with no censorship. It doesn't matter where you live, who you are. For that matter, it doesn't matter what you have to say. Like you have the freedom to access and do it. And that's what it's all about. That's a human right. And whatever we can do to protect that and elevate that against all this crazy geopolitical movement that seems to be proliferating in all of these countries, we just have to be strong as a group of people in the world and realize that we outnumber them. And that's the power of Mask too. If we had 10 million Mask users, there's no way you could ever censor the network in any way. It's like Bitcoin. You can't really censor it. Or Ethereum. You can't censor it. It's immutable. The network would be immutable. So that's the ultimate goal, really.
Well,
Powerful.
let's make that happen. Just very quickly, Larry, just like, the one thing that I can help you guys with, absolutely, is getting more mass adoption in places like Bangladesh. I'll happily translate your documents, make simple user-friendly guides for people to download and stuff. So, if you've got any team I could potentially reach out to, definitely send them my way, and, we can get you those 10 million. Let's go.
Oh man, amazing. We always look for people like as passionate as you, in various places, and preferably in places where you yourself are like, we really need this, to help proliferate and expand that user base. I mean, hey, 10 million, that's only what, 8% of Bangladesh? We can do it. We can get 8%.
We can do 8%. We can absolutely do 8%.
Yeah, we got this.
And Prometheus, I look forward to speaking with you about what, in DM about what we have going on with some of the input that I'm giving to some of the new government as far as their crypto policy. So I look forward to being able to speak with you in DM. So and putting together with the two other. There's one from the central bank, and I have another. One of the former finance advisors from two regimes ago. That was did a lot of good for the country. I'm not going to name him, but he is the same finance minister that brought Japanese and Chinese investment to put more infrastructure, like that train, for example, that the first metro in Bangladesh. So
amazing, bro. Like, yeah, let's do it. My dad, he's a professor at the London School of Economics, and I've spent my life trying to understand what leads to entire nations either succeeding or failing. Lived 10 years in Singapore. I have a development economics degree and a computing background. So, yeah, man, like I really want to transform Bangladesh through technology. And I think it's a really great use case place, especially for the crypto world, because you can create very simple token gated services like education, food, all these things at relatively low cost. You can ensure more and more user adoptability because, because of the Digital Bangladesh initiative, we've actually got, I think, close to 30 million, if not more, people who've completely adopted the technology, internet, smartphones, and all that. So blockchain is just waiting. So I'm really grateful that you're this is like an amazing connection. I'm really looking forward to speaking with you about it.
If you have a mobile device now, you have a way. And the thing about Bangladesh is, if people doubt it, the only use case you need to look at is at El Salvador, and not just El Salvador, but, there's other countries I can mention right now, but just El Salvador in general. The use case parallels are very, very, I think, in common. Inflation, for example, lack of access to commutable services via, either banking, because banking is haram, but by the majority. But there is a large Christian majority, not going into socioeconomic or geopolitical, objectives.
It's growing, and I intend to do more Christian missionary work when I'm down there. But no, please go ahead.
Sure. But but like you said, Bangladesh has always been a place of acceptance, and it's open-minded. It's about compromise, and that's why I think some of the parallels, like civil unrest, infrastructure, and building a tax war chest that's realistic, and also providing just modern amenities for the end user is really why DeFi adaptation is so important for Bangladesh. And products like Mask will provide some segue into doing it much easier. Just like you said, in the UK, I have friends that are also in Ireland that are affected. That has nothing. It's just crazy. I was in England for about a month this year, and I can't believe it went from, I was at the last home game for Wolverhampton Wolves against Crystal Palace to it was in weeks, I just couldn't believe it, man. And it's just really common sense, and so, man, I really look forward to, and man, see, Kauri, you have a random space and so much extra good. That's what's beautiful about this space, man, So we got to thank Kauri for hosting this space, letting my ass be here. So,
No,
even though he's my boy.
I wanted to save you from the typhoon, my friend. I was like, let's send some energy and some blue lightning through to this man who's on the roof of the skyscraper risking his life for his fellow neighbors. Let's do it.
Oh, man. Oh, yeah, I did send you those photos where I'm in my my harness and my gear, my rappelling gear, because I'm boarding up windows. Yeah, that's...
I'll say, don't mess with Larry. He's a man of many talents.
No, man, I'm just a man of resolve and drive, bro. I'm not good at anything any particular day, but I'm also a guy that's not going to sit around and wait for doom to befall us. The thing is, I really believe in this saying, and I think Mask really falls in this ethos and MetaTrust and Hash, and the rest of the protocols that are here. Evil prevails when good men do nothing.
Amen.
Amen.
We have to look at that, right? I mean, it doesn't matter what faith you're from, what political alignment you're from, or what even social alignment you're from. But if you sit there and allow evil to happen, then it's going to prevail all the time. Just like your privacy, just like your ability to stay decentralized in finance. That's one of the last. It was their arrogance that kept the TradFi out of DeFi. It was like, oh, this is going to fail. Look at all these yahoos coming together. And then they're like, oh, Bitcoin is actually causing a deflationary wormhole to balance out all the hyperinflation. There's USDT being accepted when local currency is not stable enough to buy a loaf of bread at a stable cost, right? This is what DeFi does. And, we can go past Bitcoin and everything else. It continues to develop, and, the markets are kind of bad right now, but sometimes you have to zoom out and look at the bigger picture, right? What is DeFi providing in general? And like Mask, truly undervalued in the service it's providing for mankind. So,
Well said.
an educated soft shill for Mask too, right?
Well said, man. And you heard it from a brand new user too. Everyone listening, our new friend Prometheus, living in a place where you might
The
get
communist regime of the UK. All hail, Keir Starmer. Sorry, go ahead.
Hey, listen, you don't want to be censored here, buddy. You know, at least you're on X. You want, you know, the chances are we're not going to be as badly canceled here as other places, right? You don't
How
have a
about all
YouTube channel, do you? Because it's all
hey,
deleted now.
how about all the letters that they sent to Elon? You know, the British government. You know, of course, we saw what happened in Brazil, but man, all of the letters saying that you better do this, this, and that, and Elon was like, "No, I think I'm just going to launch my rockets into space and worry about what you have to say later."
He
I mean,
just said
that's
three. He just had three letters, man. GFY. GFY.
exactly. And I like the cartoon. Bro.
I've had conversations with Elon. I can show you guys, but basically, like, you know, we he has secret accounts most people don't know about, and he does spaces and stuff which most people don't know about. But you know,
Wow.
yeah, yeah,
Fact.
this is absolutely the case. Anyway, you know, one of the things we initially talked about regarding policy on X actually was when the Turkish elections were happening, and he was basically getting all our inputs. And I was just telling him over and over, man, like, you know, you're a U.S. company. You're under the U.S. Constitution and U.S. jurisdiction. You do not have to give any other Fs, okay? I'm trying to be nice on this space, to any other jurisdiction that sends you whatever. And I reminded that of him, that recently to him as well. It's like these, you know, summons, quote unquote, from Parliament or whatever, they mean nothing to you, my friend, okay? They're just like, you know, yeah, it's just you're not in their jurisdiction, you're not a citizen. And if the founder of Telegram is anything to go by, you know, I think I'd be avoiding the UK for a while. Just that's basically what I said to him. So, you know, we yeah, like we got to protect our Elon. He's awesome.
Yeah,
Well,
and hey, if you do have another chat with him in these secret chats, just soft shill. Tell him we've tested Mask lots of times, and I'm an owner of a Starlink. It works great for consuming using your VPN for browsing on Starlink. It works perfectly fine. So hey, one day, you know, maybe Mask Link will be a thing.
Mask is amazing, and Kaori, I just want to let you know that sometimes I'm also privy to one of his miscellaneous accounts as well. So, but I don't shill him anything. It's just that when I get fished for a question here or there, I just answer, and I'm happy that that I'm in the scope of his vast world. Uh, but to say something to that though, like you know, it really is real. They're definitely listening in regularly, and you'd be a fool not to think so. You know, and it's unfortunate when you go and your civil liberties are infringed, like and that's not just in any given, but many countries where they want, we need to see your mobile because we want to when the border and frontier services go through your stuff. And you know, it used to be that you could have a political opinion, or you could and it's exactly what it is, an opinion. You know, you're not going to be an upstart, you're not making trouble, but like, for example, it's like you're gonna like this Marmite. You know, we're gonna force you to like it. You're gonna love this Marmite.
Yeah.
And yeah, Donna might love the Marmite, but Larry might not like the Marmite. You know, but then I'll have to say, yes, I love this. This is a
Damn
great.
you, Donna. No, I'm joking. Sorry, go ahead.
They're like, no, you take Vegemite, or I will like beat you up.
Or you know, it's just like, you know, if you like one of the London football clubs, just putting that out there. You know, I don't, but I'll have to say, oh, I love Crystal Palace. No, I don't love Crystal Palace at all.
Well,
But
that's
I
the
mean,
thing, you know, respectful conversations where people can agree to disagree are so far few now. And honestly, if you can have people, and look, I've disagreed with some of the people in this space. I'll probably, if I haven't already, I'll disagree with Larry on something, but I respect the man. So, you know, it's like if you have good friends and good builders and good followers and people you can talk to where you can both disagree and respect each other, keep those people close to you because those are the people worth keeping around, you know?
that's the thing about consensus, man. You know, I wish that the company consensus could figure this out. Yeah, I'm taking some more shots, but I'd say that's why not everyone likes me because of that, Kari. That's just something you just alluded to. I have opinions. I have very strong opinions, and I built my reputation in the space on that. You know, I just don't like certain things. I'm not a big fan of Pink Sale. You know, I think that it was supposed to fix the problems that DX Sale would do, and then they rape projects. You know, and just like I might offend many of you, but I'm not a big Saitama fan because, well, I don't even have to get into that. You can do your own research, right? But because of that, even when I worked at some other security companies, which I worked at the biggest three, you know, I worked at Certic first. That's where I met Donna. But my opinions were not always popular to the fact that they tried to bury me or like make my life so difficult, as even in charge of being in charge of APAC and all of Europe for Certic. So I left, right? But yeah, I never invested in a token. So when the founder of your security company is so involved with this chain or this token or this, you know, pre-sale because they buy lots of audits and they don't even flap at your, you know, 10 times X the price that it should be. But then you have a guy like Larry that's on the other end that everyone gets their audits through. And Larry, do you trade tokens? No, I don't. Why? Because I have to be transparent. I don't take pre-sale bags or anything from anyone. I just don't trade. How do you make your money? Like everyone else, work 9 to 5, and I mine, right? So that's not popular all the time, right? And that's why I like Kauri and Mask and people like that. You know, that's being a key ethical leader. I penned that term 4 years ago. 4 years ago. Just like this megaspace, you know, the megaspace concept. Now everyone's using megaspace, right? But I don't care because it's being put to good use, right? I keyed those terms not based on ego, but I just want to show that I'm happy that some of these ethics are penetrating the market. We really needed that. So once you think about what you're doing, you can be mindful and think about how you're going about it, right? Sometimes it's more the execution than the end result. So I want to remind everyone before we close out this space. I'm going to let Kauri, since it's his space, close it out. But I just want to leave people. Sometimes it's the way you move and not how you end, right? And being able to move in privacy and with your own sovereignty is very important. So you should have Mask in your life.
Get Mask in your life, man. I know we've got Prometheus here. He's a new Mask user. He might be a Mask maxi now, but again, I'll go back to something I said just not long ago in this chat. You know, sometimes you don't realize how important such a thing is, like having different layers of privacy in your life. You know, until you need it. So it's, not that I'm like a massive fan in insurance, but I'm sure most people listening here who, have a family or own cars or whatever, you got insurance, right? You got a car insurance in case someone crashes into you. You're not always worried about what you're doing. You're worried about the outside world and what they might do or influence in you, where you can't control. And that's kind of what privacy is about too, is making sure you're insulating yourself to the outside world and the external forces who aren't living your life. You can do what you want in the privacy of your own home. You can go talk to who you want. You used to be able to talk to who you want on the phone, but now if you want to have a truly private conversation, Larry, what do? We'd probably have to book a trip to New Zealand and go out to the woods hunting and have a chat in the middle of an unoccupied forest where the nearest person's not 1,000 miles away, right? That's a real private conversation.
I mean, put yourself in, build one of those one of those privacy rooms. Like, when I used to operate a skiff, when I was in the service, you sit in this fully insulated bubble that has white noise generators and, has all this instrumentation on the outside, and you spend, I don't know, $20,000, $30,000 to have a private space, equivalent to a recording booth. But, I mean, it's just crazy that you have to do that. Space is already at a premium, right? And it's not with economic means. So like, spend a couple bucks a month, get Mask.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. So it's like when we see that, how that's such a thing that, wow, we kind of need to think more about that. Don't go through all the hard motions of doing all the stuff or giving away more of your information now and sign up for a crappy VPN product, which is a couple dollars a month. I mean, do something that's free now in testnet. It's there for the world to use. And once it goes into mainnet, it won't have a lot of barriers to entry. We want people who are in places where they're relatively unbanked. Larry speaks a lot about that because I know he cares about fellow human beings in places that are less fortunate. People don't have bank accounts. Well, you won't need one. You won't need a credit card for Mask. You won't even need to have an email address if you actually want to use it, straight out of the box without a subscription or whatever model we decide. It's there for everyone.
For sure. And if you want to hear more about that, go on my X feed and look at my keynote speech at the CED Crypto Expo Dubai, where I gave a talk on banking the unbankable. Where I talk about that, and I was in front of the Crown, the Emirati Crown. I was on MSNBC Gulf States and on Web3 TV, and I gave, and I even debated this woman that said it's not feasible in Nigeria. I said anything is feasible, but it's people like yourself that have you ever been to Nigeria? And it was ironic. There's 30 Nigerians cheering out on their feet that understand the condition there more, and then we have this. I would say Caucasian person. That's okay. She's French, saying that it's not possible, impossible. And I was like, and she was arguing with me. And I said, I'm not arguing that it's not difficult, but, and then there's 30 Nigerians in the background. You can see it in the B-roll footage. And they're all talking to me and they're like, but I didn't bust her out. I didn't say, hey, there's Nigerians here that understand what I'm talking about. And you're not Nigerian, trying to educate the Nigerians on what's possible or not possible in their country. That is what you call colonialism at its best. It's just funny that people have these ideas, and it's just like they have strong feelings. But you know what? I respected her opinion, right? And she respected mine towards the end. And even though I got, she got to, take the ride of wearing the dunce cap in front of thousands of people, but it's okay though, because she could do it freely again, right? So again, let Mask provide you that freedom of choice, right? That provision of civility.
Yeah, that's right, man. And again,
I want to build on something that you touched on, which I think is just so important, which I feel is actually missing from a lot of this Web3 space. It's not a lack of resources. It is a lack of imagination as to why we do not have the scale of adoption and the scale of, like you absolutely need to be targeting the unbanked. Okay, who else is going to grow your user base? What, the existing TradFi crowd? No, it's the unbanked world who will most benefit from these technologies, and so I'm so with you, and I'm actually really looking forward to your talk. I'm scrolling your timeline already, but
Here's the thing, we're talking about a first world problem and a first world privilege, right? And you look at exponential extinction timelines for Japanese people, for Koreans, for Chinese, where the first world is flourishing to the point where people no longer want to have children, no longer want to support the population to make sure that the mechanism can continue. So what do we have? What do Bangladesh, what do Nigeria, what do Cambodia, what do many other, and even India, what do they contribute? Well, human beings, firstly, but if you look at like Bangladesh and you look at Nigeria, resource rich. If you can get the corruption to be minimalized, because it won't go away, and you can get some representation of those funds in a non-agrarian society, but because it doesn't work, right? We've seen that agrarian society doesn't work, but creative capitalism with Web3 and DeFi, and then you bring the largest burgeoning possibility of a middle class, and this middle class is what's going to carry the world economy, 100%. And having worked in counterinsurgency before in sub-Saharan Africa and in Asia, when I was in the service, you talk to the hearts and minds, you talk to the people on the ground. 9 out of 10 people just want to have the same chance, the same possibility, and what better way to do it, to bring them to equal ground, to start. Everyone's willing to work for it if you give it to them. Then we won't have this negative stigma in the world about third world, second world developing economies. And I can say that because I remember when Korea was not the economic powerhouse that it was. I came from humble backgrounds. Although my family was okay in Korea, and my father is an American that was a soldier, and that's how I came to be in this world. The thing is, I knew what it was to be not from a bunch of money. I was okay, but then I came to the stateside and I found out it was really hard. And so for me to see that at the turn of World War II and into the Vietnam War, South Korea was a developing economy, and now it's a first world economy, one of the most powerful economies in the world, both technologically and policy side. Why couldn't, and and we look at Vietnam, it's a growing giant too, right? And we look at many countries like that. Why couldn't the Bangladesh and Nigeria be the next ones? They're so rich in natural resources and manpower and good people, right? Talented people. So we should remember that every time we're complaining about how the charts look, we should say, wow, even that 1 USDT or 2 USDT would make a world of difference in the day to somebody. For less than a cup of coffee, it really is real. They could feed their family and eat for at least one meal, And
Yeah.
I think it's an altruistic mission in DeFi that we should remember that at points.
Amen. I don't think anyone could have put it better. Like I've studied Korea quite a bit, just like how as an economy it developed, with the chaebols and just like back in the day, everyone made fun of Korea for getting into infant industry and protecting its economy. But really that's what led to them being able to compete with the likes of Panasonic and whatnot, who were laughing at Samsung and whatever when they first started making washing machines, right? So you're absolutely right. Like there's no reason why we can't scale, and we're at a time now where we're no longer like look at what we have available to us, okay, like that we didn't have ever before in history. Okay, we're I'm sitting here in Canterbury in the UK. It's 5 a.m. in the morning. I know where you guys are at, but we're connecting all over the world. Capital can move more freely than it's ever done before. We're at a massive technological edge, compounding, and I really believe like we the people, the generation of entrepreneurs, we're the ones who can like bring humanity out of absolute poverty through blockchain. Like it is totally possible in a single generation. There doesn't have to be one person in the world over who can't log into a site somewhere and be able to do some sort of productive work and be engaged. It can be something as simple as vertical farming, right? It can or like there's infinite amount of possibilities. So I hear you, and I believe like economies grow when we actually interact with one another. Because this is one of the big lessons I've learned from like studying economics and being in the business world to whatever degree I have, is that we actually legitimize one another. We need one another to like a currency by itself is not value. It's because you can use it in different contexts as well as its own context that actually gives it its value over time. So it's actually in the interest of nation states to bring blockchain in, because their currency, so to speak, can be an L1, right? And then everything else, all the other blockchains that you add, or cryptos and blockchain solutions you add on top, they can add, if done rightly, they can add to the value creation aspect of all of that. So no, I completely hear you, and I think you just made like the case as to why Web3 needs to reach out to the unbanked.
What is scaling without ropes or steps to do it? We're all responsible for scaling the improvement of mankind. It's a moral objective that's been forgotten. It's because this 24-hour news society we live in. We're bombarded with a continuous feed where we don't have the room or the apathy. We don't have room for apathy. We're programmed. We're oversaturated daily with programming that is mush, right? It makes your mind mush. So, it's good to zoom out, and man, what a great space, Kari, this has been. Thank you, Prometheus, for adding so much value to our space and being a new mask user. And of course, my brother from another mother, Kaori. I think this is a great way to end because, I have to get into my meetings now for MetaTrust.
Yeah, same.
So-
I'm just every time we went to like wrap it up, we had more amazing worldly views and just to to close out and echoing things you both said, you yourself, Larry, and Prometheus, just like that's the potential we see in crypto, right? Where we can get people who are normally, they're living their life, they have so much value, but they're normally not inclusive in the normal traditional financial world where they could add value, they could add resources. Now we can. This whole thing is unlocked through Web3, through blockchain, through DeFi. Like if we can get the next 10 million users into any project from these emerging markets and countries, they need it. They need it, and they need it more than some of us. So like I'm totally excited about that whole thing of incubating communities where we really need to be there, right? As a tech, as an industry. So anything I can do to do that. Let's connect after this, Prometheus, as well. It's great to have you come in, and appreciate everyone's input. All the listeners, thank you. Thanks for supporting Mask. Larry, thank you again for all your connections and wise words. And I'll follow up with you on some other stuff for Hash AI and MetaTrust. So thanks everyone for attending. It's been amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kaori.
And remember, a cup of coffee can get you some data sovereignty. Just putting that out there.
That's right.
So should use that. Get that mask life.
Yeah. Get some Mask in your life,
Guys.
everybody. Thanks again for listening.
Bye-bye.
All right. Cheers, everyone. Bye.